When I say the word addictive, what first comes to mind? You see, now some of you probably thought of things like drinking, alcohol, smoking, things that we all would say were stereotypically addictive. But what if I told you that there is something just as addictive as all of those, and it's probably right there in each one of your pockets? I'm talking about a tiny little app called TikTok, and more specifically, short-form content in general. You see, many of us regularly use these apps where we're constantly ending up scrolling and scrolling and scrolling for almost hours at a time. You see, I myself often find myself being sucked in or in a trance where I can't stop scrolling. Now, I'm sure that many of us in this room can probably relate to that. And because I have observed some of the harsh effects that go on in my own mind, I have been motivated to do some extensive research on the subject, and therefore I'm bringing you well-trusted, unbiased, completely truthful facts. Because of all my research, I have developed a thesis that I firmly believe we all should stop using short-form content. Now, throughout this speech, I'm going to be talking about why we should stop because of all the negative effects it may have and how they get you addicted. I'm going to be talking about the simple little actions we can take to fix an addiction. And I'm also going to be talking about the dangerous consequences associated with the short-form content addiction. Now, let's look at the main problem at hand and how they get you sucked in and why it's so bad for you in the first place. You see, TikTok specifically uses a very specialized and handcrafted algorithm designed to get a user sucked in. According to the article titled "How TikTok Reads Your Mind" by Ben Smith from the New York Times, the algorithm tries to get people addicted rather than giving them what they really want. And it does this via a lot of different data collection methods. It takes things such as a user's watch time, what kind of videos they like to watch, and how long they stay on the app. And throughout all this data collection, every time a user scrolls onto a video, they're handing over a big chunk of data to the system. And within a few hours of scrolling, that system could know everything it needs to know about each individual. And with all that data, the system could know what an individual is physically attracted to, what their hobbies are, whether or not they're into drugs, whether or not they may be depressed, all sorts of highly sensitive information that the average person wouldn't want anyone else to know. Now, while this is a major security threat and privacy concern, the fact that all of this data collection is just to get you addicted to the app should be very, very, very concerning. And it doesn't matter what platform you're using to watch your short-form content. Once you're addicted, you can have several issues go on in your mind, such as diminished attention, impaired senses, decreased physical well-being, and other problematic behaviors that I'll discuss later. Now, let's look at some of the possible solutions that you could do to help fix things. Now, before you start taking action against the problem, you need to be physically aware of the problem. And you can do this by looking at the analytics of how long you've been on the app. You can take some timers that let you know when you start, when you stop. And you can also just be mentally aware when you start scrolling. Like, hey, I'm scrolling, and because of that, I've procrastinated all my work. Now, once you realize the problem, you can start taking some actions. According to the webpage titled "The Psychology of Your Scrolling Addiction" by Caitlin Woolley and Marissa A. Sheriff from Harvard Business Review, there are many ways to break the cycle and stop getting sucked in. And such methods include intentionally breaking your viewing cycle, creating a distraction that stops you and motivates you from scrolling. You can use timers that prompt you to get off the app after a certain amount of time. And you can also leave some notes on your desk that are constantly reminding you to, hey, get back to your assignment that's due tomorrow. One big thing you can do is to try and consume different content. You see, when the content you're watching is always consistently the same, it's much easier to get sucked in. But when it's constantly changing and different, it can help motivate your mind to stop watching so much. Now you see, being addicted to short-form content can have some serious consequences. So let's look at some of those. According to a study done by Jinji and at the National Library of Medicine titled Effects of Short-Form Video Addiction on Undergraduates' Academic Procrastination, a Moderated Mediation Model, short-form video addiction can lead to physical effects such as poor vision, decreased physical fitness, and possibly chronic diseases and other disorders. Mentally, it can lead to emotion regulation problems, it can lead to reduced feelings of well-being, and it can even lead to problematic behaviors like suicide, reduced sleep quality, and academic burnout. One of the main issues associated with short-form content addiction is academic procrastination. You see, when you're constantly scrolling through video after video, it develops a mindset in your brain that's craving immediate self-satisfaction rather than long-term benefit. And because of this, and because how schoolwork may take a lot of long-term effort and motivation to keep going and get your assignments done, individual that can't have that immediate beneficial feeling from their schoolwork may feel like they shouldn't do their work and feel unmotivated because of that mindset they have. Another major issue is diminished attentional spans. You see, when there's a constant change of information, it can cause the mind to be aroused, causing your mind to become impaired attentionally and making things very hard to focus. Because of all these dangerous and negative effects, I want to make one final call. We have to stop using short-form content because of how dangerous and detrimental it actually is. Because throughout this speech, I hope that all of you have realized just how dangerous it can be. And throughout the speech, I talked about how they get you sucked in and how problematic it can be, the different types of solutions you could help to fix the problem, and the different consequences it has. Now, I hope that all of you realize just how dangerous it can be, and those of you struggling, take the actions you need to quit the addiction. Remember, it's rather simple. Just use intentional interruptions, leave yourself mental and physical notes, mentally reinforce yourself. And those of you not struggling, just put the phone down before it starts.